Okay, let's jump right in. We're plunging you straight into what sounds like, well, a nightmare scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Picture this. It's late December 1984. You're aboard the shuttle, STS LR-9,
Yeah.
and disaster strikes. I mean, serious hull damage, the pressure's dropping fast, multiple crew members are injured.
Right. And down on the ground in Houston Mission Control, you've got Joan Goodwin. She's the captain's
That
master.
communicator, yeah.
Exactly. And she's desperately trying to save her crew. But here's the kicker. They're not just her crew, they're her friends, her closest friends.
Wow, that personal tension right off the bat layered onto this, cosmic catastrophe. It's intense.
It really is. And up there on that damaged shuttle,
Yeah.
the only one conscious is Vanessa Ford.
Okay.
And Vanessa Ford also happens to be Joan's secret romantic partner.
No way. So she's up there alone, conscious, and facing this impossible choice.
Totally impossible.
Yeah.
Does she follow the book, the strict NASA protocol, and maybe, have to abandon her injured colleagues? Or does she go rogue? Try some incredibly risky, unauthorized rescue mission.
That's a huge dilemma. It sets everything up.
Absolutely. It's foundational for the whole story.
And the emotional weight is just immense from the start. Think about this, Joan. Back in Houston, she knows one of the crewmates, Griff, is dead.
Right.
But she deliberately doesn't tell Vanessa. Not right away. Just to try and keep Vanessa focused on survival.
While Vanessa, totally isolated up there, is already thinking ahead, trying to figure out a makeshift repair. She's getting ready to defy orders, actually.
To re-enter early.
Yeah, to try and save Lydia, another injured crew member. It's not just about the tech failing. It's this deep moral crisis unfolding in real time.
So this incredible opening, it's just the start of what we're exploring today, which is the novel Atmosphere, a love story.
Exactly. In this book, it's not just your standard space drama. It really blends that high-stakes action, that tension, with a very personal, very hidden love story.
So our mission for you today is to journey through those critical moments, look at how these characters evolve, and really dissect the big themes. We want to pull out those key nuggets of knowledge, the insights that stick with you.
Right. And to really get the weight of that 1984 crisis, we need to rewind a bit, understand who these women were before all this.
Let's do that. Let's go back. Summer of 1980, what was Joan Goodwin's life like before NASA?
Well, it's interesting. She starts in a pretty stable, you could say, academic world.
Yeah.
Physics and astronomy professor at Rice University.
Okay, grounded.
Very. And she's already got this complex personal life going on. She's essentially the main caregiver, like a mother figure for her niece, Frances.
Because her sister, Barbara, is not really stepping up.
Kind of unreliable, yeah. That's the picture the book paints. So Joan has this whole life, and then, bam, NASA puts out this recruitment ad. And it's specifically calling for women scientists for the new shuttle program.
Which was a big deal back then.
Huge deal. And Joan, she goes for it.
She takes the leap and gets in.
Yep. After a super competitive process, she's accepted into Group 9 of astronaut candidates.
And who else is in that group?
Some really notable people, actually. Hank Redmond, he's a Top Gun pilot type. John Griffin, they call him Griff, another scientist. Lydia Danes, mission specialist. Donna Fitzgerald. And, crucially, Vanessa Ford.
Ah, okay. So they meet during training. What was that transition like, going from, university lectures to astronaut training?
Oh, the novel really throws you into it.
Yeah.
It's intense. This new group faces this incredibly rigorous training schedule.
More than just classes, I imagine.
Way more. We're talking intense weightless simulations, those vomit comet flights maybe, grueling survival training out in the wilderness, demanding flight drills.
And didn't they do underwater stuff too?
Exactly. The book describes how they practiced spacewalks by doing these complex tasks in enormous underwater tanks. It's a really authentic detail about NASA training back then. It's designed to push them, physically and mentally, right to their limits.
And it's in that pressure cooker, that environment, that Joan and Vanessa connect.
That's right. The source shows this really rapid bond forming. Mutual admiration, definitely, which quickly turns into these deeper, more intimate conversations. Moments where they really let their guard down. It feels very natural.
Is there a specific moment the book highlights?
Yeah, there's a great example during the water drills, these simulated spacewalks underwater. Joan apparently has this real fear. She struggles with it.
Understandable.
And it's Vanessa who steps in. She's calm, steady, supportive, helps Joan get through it. Atmosphere really shows how facing that kind of adversity together can just accelerate that human connection, build trust fast.
A bond forged in, simulated danger.
Pretty much. Vulnerability leading to connection, the powerful theme.
But Joan's life isn't just NASA, right? She's still juggling her responsibilities with Francis.
Constantly. And that leads to these frequent clashes with her sister Barbara. Big arguments about parenting, about what's best for Francis. It paints a really clear picture of the kind of pressures these women were under. Not just breaking barriers professionally, but managing these incredibly complex personal lives too.
Yeah, it really highlights the sacrifices involved, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's a core tension in the novel.
Yeah.
Joan's giving up this stable life to chase something extraordinary, something in a very male world. But she's also navigating family drama. It makes you ask, what do you give up for your biggest dreams?
And speaking of the personal, the story then really digs into Joan and Vanessa's romance deepening, but it has to be secret. Why was that secrecy so crucial?
That's really central. The book makes it crystal clear they knew the risks. Having a romantic relationship within the astronaut corps, that was risky enough,
But a same-sex couple?
especially a same-sex couple in the early 80s, that could absolutely destroy their careers at NASA. Secrecy wasn't just like a preference, it was survival. Professional and personal survival in a world that just wasn't ready for them.
So their real relationship exists only in private.
Pretty much. Those stolen moments looking at the stars together, late night talks about everything. Spirituality, space, love, their future. That's where they could be themselves.
But that must create its own pressure, hiding something so fundamental.
Oh, enormous pressure. There's this moment where Joan, she's had a bit too much to drink, and she nearly kisses Griff.
Whoa.
Yeah, it surprises her too. And Griff, who seems pretty perceptive, he kind of gently hints that he suspects something's going on between her and Vanessa.
So the secret isn't maybe as secret as they think?
Well, it shows how hard it is to keep things totally separate. Even small things can give you away. Adds that layer of internal conflict alongside the external threat.
Right, and Joan even introduces Vanessa to her niece, Frances, but only as a friend.
And Barbara, the sister, she picks up on something. She's suspicious. So you have this stark contrast. In public, they keep this emotional distance, but privately, they're growing incredibly close.
It must have been exhausting.
No doubt. And then Vanessa says something incredibly profound to Joan. She says, essentially, I'd marry you if I could.
Wow, that's a huge declaration given the circumstances.
It really is. A total commitment, defying the world that would deny them. And soon after that, things shift professionally too. Joan gets selected for her first mission.
And Vanessa.
Vanessa gets picked for a flight soon after as well. So it feels like, okay, their careers are aligning, their dreams are coming true, but that shadow of secrecy is always there.
And the challenges keep mounting. Joan's personal life takes another turn.
Yeah, a big one. Her sister, Barbara, decides she wants to send Francis off to boarding school.
Oh, wow.
Which leads to Joan stepping in and becoming Francis's full-time legal guardian. So now she's got this huge new responsibility right as her mission training is ramping up.
Talk about pressure.
And right around then, the relationship itself comes under direct fire. Joan gets a warning. A very clear, very chilling warning.
From NASA.
Implicitly, yes. The message is, any leak, any hint of LGBT ties, as the book puts it, could completely derail both their careers.
That forces them to break up.
It does. Painfully. It feels like the end. This wasn't just a vague threat. It was the reality for many people back then. The consequences were severe.
But that's not the end of their story, is it?
No, thankfully. It's actually a turning point. They reconcile.
Ah.
Vanessa calls Joan, apparently for a payphone somewhere, and just lays it out. She'd rather leave NASA, give up her dream, than lose Joan.
Wow, that's powerful.
Incredibly. So they make this vow. They'll stay together. But the condition stands during missions. While they're in the public eye, their love has to remain completely hidden. A heartbreaking compromise, really.
But a necessary one for them.
A testament to their commitment, yeah.
And that vow, that compromise, gets tested almost immediately because the story snaps us right back to 1984, to the STS-LR9 mission disaster.
Right back into the crisis. It happens during debris deployment. Griff, remember Griff from training?
Yeah, the one Joan nearly kissed.
He's fatally injured. Hank, Steve, Lydia, the other crew members, they're all incapacitated. The novel is pretty graphic about the chaos and the injuries.
So Vanessa's truly alone up there, conscious but alone, with this unbelievable burden.
Unbelievable is right. She's dealing with her own grief for Griff, this terrifying pressure loss in the shuttle, all while talking to Joan, her partner, down in mission control. The clock is ticking. Time is running out.
What does that moment, that pressure, really show us about Vanessa, about the kind of person she is?
I mean, it's the ultimate test, isn't it? Everything NASA trains astronauts for staying calm, executing procedures under unimaginable stress, even personal loss. But her decision, that's what's
The
pivotal.
decision to re-enter early.
Exactly. Going against orders to try and save Lydia. She knows the risk to herself is huge. It shows incredible courage, obviously technical skill, but also this deep loyalty, this humanity. It's that classic conflict. Duty versus compassion.
So she makes that call, defies orders, and then what? What happens immediately after?
Silence. This is the terrifying part. After her last transmission saying what she's doing, communication just cuts out. Darkness.
No, man. For Joan in mission control.
Pure terror. Absolute fear for Vanessa's life, you can only imagine.
Right.
But then, against the odds,
Yeah.
they reestablished communication.
They made it.
They made it. Vanessa and Lydia, they survived the reentry. It's this incredible wave of relief. And it hits so hard because we've just spent all this time learning their history, their connection.
That structure, jumping between the present crisis and the past, it's a deliberate choice by the author, isn't it? How does that nonlinear approach work? Why not just tell it straight through?
It's really effective, I think. By hitting us with the crisis first, the stakes are immediately sky high. We're hooked.
Right.
Then, as we flash back and learn about their training, their struggles, their secret love, every single detail is colored by what we know is coming.
Ah, okay. So every past moment feels more significant.
Exactly. You're constantly thinking, okay, how does this conversation or this fear or this choice impact what happens in 1984?
Yeah.
It makes their bond feel deeper, their survival even more miraculous, more earned.
Okay, so let's unpack the big ideas then, the themes. Atmosphere seems to be exploring some really powerful stuff. First up, obviously, love and sacrifice.
Definitely. Joan and Vanessa's romance is the core. It's shown as incredibly powerful, but also so fragile because of the world they live in. Constantly tested by the need for secrecy, and then obviously by this life or death crisis.
Then there's identity and ambition. What's the book saying there?
Well, it really gets into the tension between being true to yourself and fitting into the professional mold, right?
Yeah.
Especially when that mold demands you hide a huge part of who you are.
Like Joan leaving her stable academic job for this intense, male-dominated world of spaceflight.
Right. And Vanessa, who's technically brilliant, clearly ambitious, but also carries this this internal vulnerability related to their secret. It really asks, what are you willing to compromise or hide to reach your biggest goals? And what's the cost of doing that?
And you also mentioned science versus emotion. That seems fascinating in a NASA context. How does atmosphere balance those?
Yeah, it subtly argues that even in a place like NASA, which runs on precision, procedures, absolute accuracy, human emotion is just this undeniable force.
It can't be totally engineered out.
Exactly. Vanessa's decision to defy orders, that wasn't purely logical calculation.
Yeah.
It was driven by her connection to Lydia, her will to survive, maybe even her love for Joan, fueling that will. It shows passion and instinct sometimes overriding the manual. Cold, hard science meets, the messy reality of human feeling.
And the title itself, atmosphere. It's more than just the air they breathe, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's a great metaphor. It's the literal atmosphere protecting the Earth, the thin shell of air inside the shuttle.
But also the emotional atmosphere?
Precisely. The atmosphere of secrecy surrounding their relationship, the pressures they face. It's like this invisible bubble they live in, sometimes protective, sometimes suffocating.
Brilliantly chosen. Okay, let's shift to how the novel was received. It got a lot of praise, right?
It did. People really responded to the emotional core of the story, the strength of Joan and Vanessa as characters. And critics often noted the technical authenticity. The author clearly did their homework on NASA and spaceflight in that era.
But it wasn't universally acclaimed. Were there criticisms?
Yeah, like most books that tackle complex issues, it faced some critiques. Some readers felt it kind of glossed over the harsher realities, the full societal challenges of being a lesbian couple, especially at NASA in the 1980s.
How so? Like, it mentioned the threats, but didn't show enough day-to-day prejudice.
Something like that. While the book definitely shows the risk of discovery and the official warnings they received, some reviewers wanted to see more of the actual daily grind of hiding. The potential microaggressions, the psychological toll beyond just that one big warning.
Okay, that's fair. Any other criticisms?
A few others felt the tone was maybe a bit too sweet, perhaps, that it shied away from digging deeper into some of the emotional or even political conflicts simmering beneath the surface. They wanted maybe a bit more grit, less gloss.
Gotcha. So putting it all together,
Yeah.
synthesizing the impact, atmosphere sounds like a really rich read.
Absolutely. It delivers this complex narrative, weaving together that slow burn romance with genuinely tense space drama.
And it's celebrating female ambition, LGBTQ plus love, this idea of a found family within the astronaut corps.
All set against this really vivid backdrop of late 20th century NASA. It feels authentic.
So even if some felt it could have dug deeper into the social issues?
Right, even with those critiques, the core story of Joan and Vanessa, with its very real emotional and scientific stakes, it definitely resonates. It gives you this unique window into resilience, into connection under pressure.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you, our listeners, with something to think about. A final question. We live in a world that often asks us to, compartmentalize, keep our work life separate from our personal life, our true selves maybe hidden sometimes.
Yeah.
So what does a story like Atmosphere tell us about the real cost, or maybe the ultimate triumph of trying to bring those two things together, of integrating our deepest truths with our highest ambitions? Something to ponder.